Michael Burry, you know the name, the legendary investor from The Big Short, the man who saw the 2008 crash coming when no one else did. Well, after years of relative quiet, he is back, and he's making another massive, and I mean massive, bet against the market. And he kicked things off with this super cryptic quote from the old movie War Games. It's a huge warning shot. He's basically saying that in the current market, maybe the smartest, maybe the only way to win is to get off the board entirely.
So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to break down his entire argument. We'll look at what he's actually doing, why he's convinced we're in another giant bubble, and the one final move he made that proves he is absolutely all in on this.
You know, some people on Wall Street call him Cassandra, the prophet from Greek mythology who was cursed to see the future but have no one believe her. Well, after years of staying pretty quiet, people are definitely starting to listen now. His new warnings are being taken very, very seriously. Okay, so what is he actually doing? Before we get into the why behind his thinking, let's just focus on the what. Let's look at the specific moves he's made that have everybody on Wall Street talking. I mean, just look at this. The change was absolutely stunning. At the end of 2024, his fund was loaded up with Chinese stocks like Alibaba. He was long China, but then just 1 quarter later, boom, he'd sold almost all of it. And he took that money and plowed it into a huge bet against the biggest names in US tech. It was a complete 180. All right, you've probably seen the crazy headlines, right? Michael Burry's billion-dollar short. Let's just clear this up. That billion-dollar number, that's what's called notional value. It's the total value of all the stock he's betting against. But the actual cash he laid out for the put options, say against a company like Palantir, it was about $9.2 million. Now, that is still a huge, huge bet, but let's stick to the facts here. And this is key. His attack is absolutely laser-focused. He isn't just making some vague bet that the economy will slow down. No, he's going right for the heart of the AI boom. He's targeting NVIDIA, the company that makes the chips powering this whole revolution, and Palantir, the super high-flying AI software darling. This is a direct shot at the AI hype itself.
So that covers the what. Now for the really interesting part, the why. Why is Michael Burry so convinced that this incredible AI boom is actually a bubble and that it's on the verge of popping?
This chart right here, this is the core of his historical argument. It shows how much money big companies are spending on new projects and equipment as a slice of the entire US economy. And you can clearly see the spikes back in the dot-com bubble and the housing bubble. But now, look at today's spike, which is being driven almost entirely by AI spending. It dwarfs the others. For a guy like Burry, this is a classic flashing red light that we're in the late stages of a massive bubble. For Burry, this is just history repeating itself, plain and simple. Back in 2000, companies went nuts, spending billions on fiber optic cables, way more than anyone actually needed. That overinvestment led to a historic crash. He sees the exact same pattern today, but with GPUs and data centers. It's a frenzy of building based on hype, not on proven real-world demand. And here's the paradox he keeps pointing to. Who are the biggest customers buying all this AI hardware? It's the cloud giants, right? Amazon, Google, Microsoft. But here's the catch. Their own revenue growth from their cloud businesses is actually slowing down. So if the very engine that's supposed to power this AI revolution is starting to sputter, who's going to profitably use all this new capacity they're building? It just doesn't add up. But, you know, Burry's argument goes even deeper than just an AI bubble. He sees a fundamental structural flaw in how the market itself is built today. A weakness, he thinks, could turn any downturn into a full-blown catastrophe. And here's the problem he points to. For the first time in history, more than half of all the money in the US stock market is sitting in passive index funds and ETFs. And according to Burry, this has fundamentally broken the way markets are supposed to work. It all comes down to this idea called price discovery. Think of it like a giant flea market. For years, you had active investors. They were the shoppers, walking around, kicking the tires, haggling, and figuring out what things were really worth. They set the prices. But passive funds, they're like a giant robot that just comes in and buys one of everything on the list, no matter the price, no matter the quality. Burry says all this robotic, indiscriminate buying has basically destroyed the market's natural safety net. So because of this, he's predicting this absolutely catastrophic domino effect. Here's how it plays out. Step 1, the speculative AI stocks, the darlings, finally start to fall. Step 2, all those passive index funds are forced to start selling them automatically. But, and here's the terrifying part, Step 3, they don't just sell the losers, they sell everything across the board to stay balanced, dragging the entire market down with them. And Step 4, there just isn't enough smart, active money left in the market to step in and buy when things get cheap. There's no one left to stop the bleeding. A fire in one corner of the building isn't just going to stay there. In his own words, the whole thing is just going to come down. So he's placed his bets, and he's laid out his case. But his final move? This is the one that really shows you the depth of his conviction. It's one thing to talk the talk. It's something else entirely to do this. He shut his fund down. He literally deregistered Cyan Asset Management with the SEC and gave all of his outside investors their money back. He's no longer managing other people's money, period. But look, this wasn't him quitting. Not at all. This was a tactical repositioning. By switching to a private family office that only manages his own money, he gets out of the public spotlight. No more mandatory disclosures, no more pressure from clients who want quick returns. It lets him go dark and hold these controversial bets for as long as it takes, just like he did before 2008. And in his final letter to his investors, he laid it all out. He basically said that his way of figuring out what a company is worth just doesn't work anymore in a market he sees as fundamentally irrational. He felt it was impossible to manage other people's money in this kind of environment. And that brings us right back to where we started. Burry's case is pretty clear. A massive AI bubble combined with a market that is structurally broken has created a recipe for disaster. His actions, though, they speak way louder than his words. He has put his money where his mouth is and has structured his entire professional life to weather the storm he sees coming. The only question left is he right again?